So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Soul Centered. We're delighted to have you here. We are doing our second Shabbat, Soul Centered Shabbat. And so we're really just delighted to be able to have this technology. Got a little technical difficulties going on. Hang on one second. We will get this eventually. Like everybody else out there, we are learning on the fly. So give us 1 second. Okay. So here we go.
Okay.
So again, we are really delighted that you would take the time to join us on this Saturday morning. For those of you who are Jewish, we call it Shabbat. Those of you who are not, Sabbath. And everybody's welcome. We are really a center for ecumenical spirituality. We believe deeply in the Jewish tradition and Kabbalah as the foundation of who we are and what we do, but we are open to best isms, best practice from wherever they come from. And so this is an opportunity to come together using the Jewish Shabbat Sabbath framework, but again as an opening, and we'll talk a lot more today about what that opening is. So I'm Baruch Levi, Rabbi B.
I'm Ariela Levi.
And we co-founded Soul Centered for this very purpose. At times like this, when we need opportunities to come together, to pray together, to open our hearts together, to get soul-centered together. And so with that, I guess we'll get started. So there's a sheet on the website, mysoulcentered.org. See it right there. And there's also, the sheet was uploaded to our Soul Centered Facebook page, as well as our Soul Centered Facebook group. It's called the Shabbat Xperience Soul Sheet. Lots of simple, straightforward English transliterated Hebrew prayers. You don't need the sheet, but if you want to follow along, it's there for you. And how about we begin with one word, welcome, one word of kind of focus, which is shalom, and shalom means also peace. And so that's what we're seeking on this Shabbat and this weekend and this time in our world. Shalom. 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 So again, if you just joined us, welcome to our Soul-Centered Shabbat. It's an opportunity for us to end the week, a very challenging, struggle-filled week for everybody in many ways, and to leave the week behind, to prepare for a week ahead, and to set the intention with what we're doing right now, which is simply sitting, and that's what Shabbat means, the Shevet, to sit. And we don't sit enough, even though we've had a lot of time this week probably to sit. It's more than just physical sitting. It's also emotional and mental and spiritual sitting as we start to rest and we start to get our center and we start to return. Talk about Modeh.
So the next prayer we'll do is Modeh or Moda Ani. And I invite you to close your eyes. And I woke up this morning with a sense of gratefulness for the breath, for just being able to take one more breath. And when we can stop, even when we're in our homes, life gets busy. And when we can stop and remember the gratitude for one more step and one more breath, then we can center ourselves. Mode ani lefanecha urachai vekayam modani lefanecha Modani lefanecha urachai vekayam Modani lefanecha ruachai Modani lefanecha ruachai vekayam Modani lefanecha
So every week around the world, Jewish people read from the same place in the Torah, in the 5 books of Moses. And this week we begin the Torah portion, the parsha called Vayikrah, Leviticus in English. And we're going to talk a lot about the theme that we've really picked up on and extracted, and it is around stillness and quietness. And this idea that the divine is all around us and within us, and we just have to sometimes get quiet, get still, to listen. And when we do, right, a great power awakens within us when we tap into this stillness, this quietness. And Rabbi Emunatecha, it's actually the latter part of that chant. It's on the right-hand side. And Rabbi Emunatecha is just kind of a way to awaken within us this sense of power when we sit and we listen and we get still.
Rabbi Emunatecha, Rabbi Emunatecha, Rabbi Emunatecha, Emunatecha, 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 Rabbi Emunatecha, Rabbi Emunatecha, Rabbi Emunatecha, Emunatecha. So I'd like to invite us to come to Hine Matov. It's the third on the list. Lord, prepare me. And so as we close our eyes, we begin to invite this idea of home. And home, makom, is wherever you make it. And so I'd like you to imagine your home inside of your body. And deep inside of your body is a beautiful, beautiful diamond, the essence of who you are, your soul. Knowing that as chaos goes around us outside in the world, we can take a deep breath and breathe into our home, that beautiful essence of who we are. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Yai rai 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 rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai.
So one of the ways we just enter into Shabbat, again, Shabbat means sitting, the shevet, and it means returning, teshuvah. One of the ways we really enter into that space is just through breathing, through mindfully breathing. Slowing down, just at a physiological level. We slow our body down, we slow our mind down, we slow our doing down, and just enter into a place of being. And as we do, we feel a sense of blessing all around us. You know, that's one of the focuses of Shabbat, is just a focus on blessings. And we do that through, again, many ways, not the least of which is just being grateful for the blessing of our breath and this divine energy that is always within us and there for us to listen to, which is our theme today, and to tap into. Vayikrah is on the bottom left-hand side of your soul sheet. You can get the soul sheet on the Facebook page or the Facebook group or the My Soul Center website under Tools and Downloads. Vayikrah malke di'alma Mare dehai neshama brichra chamana malke di'alma Mare dehai neshama brichra chamana malke di'alma Mare dehai Neshama brichra chamana malke di'alma Mare dehai Neshama. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. Brichra chamana Malke di alma, Malke di hai, Nishema Vayikrah Kamala, Malke di alma, Malke di hai, Nishema, you are the source of life. For all that is, and your blessing flow through me. You are the source of life. For all that is, and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life. For all that is, and your blessings flow through me. Just joined us, and welcome. We are delighted that you would center your soul with us on this Shabbat, on this Sabbath, an opportunity for anybody, everybody. Radical hospitality was our mantra. We coined that and we embodied it in our congregations, and this is our congregation, and it's for anybody and it's for everybody to help you, to help all of us come together and center our souls. And so that takes us into Elohai. Elohai is a chant on your soul sheet on the right-hand side, first page. And it's simply that. It's literally about getting soul-centered and returning to the idea, the truth, that we aren't the center of our soul, that we didn't give ourselves a soul, it was given to us. And we can return to it by reminding ourselves that there's a source of soul, Elohai Neshama, on page 1. Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi Tehorai. 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 Elohai, my soul, that you placed in me, pure as she. Oh my God, my soul, that you placed in me, pure as she. Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi Tehorai. Elohai, Neshama Shenatata bi Tehorai.
So we continue with our service, breathing in light, bringing in and seeing if we can find and discover this inner joy inside of us. And the idea of that sanctuary song that we sang is to create a house, a home inside of us. And inside the home is this dwelling place for the divine, for our souls to shine, for our light, and for us to really cultivate inside a sense of inner joy. So this next chant, Ashrei, is not about happiness that comes from the outside. It's from the inside, from the depths of your heart. Can you find your inner joy? Ashrei, thank you. Yoshrei, V'Tzecha, Od Yaleluha, Od Yaleluha.
So just hang with us. I know you're still there, but somehow we're not seeing you. There we are.
There we go.
Working through all kinds of technical difficulties. Everybody I talk to right now is working through all kinds of technical difficulties.
Bear with us.
We
So
are.
we're going to continue our service. It's not on your song sheet. It's a song called Ozi. Ozi v'zimrat yah, vayahi li lishua. And it's written by Shefa Gold, and it's a beautiful song just expressing that our strength comes from within, and our strength comes from the divine and from your soul and from the people around you. And so closing your eyes and just joining me if you know it or listening to the words. Ozi v'zimrat yah, vayahi lishua. 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 Ozi v'zimrat yah, vayahi lishua.
So welcome again, everybody. Susan Ecker, welcome. She chimed in. It's hard to see you unless you put in a comment. If you put in a comment, we can see you, and we'd love to hear your thoughts or reflections. We will be offering an opportunity during the healing section to share names of people you want to have healing. And we're not there yet, but just an idea of the famous mathematician Blaise Pascal, who said, all of humanity's problems stem from a person's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. And really kind of taking that as part of our theme, hi Gail, Shabbat Shalom, as our theme for this Shabbat, because so much angst and anxiety is happening because we are not a society that's comfortable with quiet and with going inwards. And when the world around us shuts down or forces us inwards, it brings up a lot of stuff for everybody. And so really the theme of this Shabbat, of every Shabbat, but particularly this one, and we'll talk more about it in the Torah portion section, is can we learn to sit in our homes and in our spaces and in our bodies and not be lonely, but be alone, right? And the distinction between the two. You can be alone and not have to be lonely. And by the way, you can be with people and be lonely. And so this is a shift into being alone and learning to listen and be okay with, in fact, enjoy the quiet and the stillness. And so with that, we'll keep it quiet, we'll keep it still, we'll keep it building and asking the divine, whatever you call the divine, G-O-D or God, or that is G-O-D, isn't it? Or Yah, or Shekhinah, which is the divine feminine presence. Doesn't matter. What matters is, are we tapping into the divine and divine power within us to awaken? And so, Am I Awake? On the handout you can download on any of the places where we advertise Soul Center.
So just taking a deep breath in, centering yourself, asking yourself if you're awake this morning in your life in general. Are you awake to every part of your life? Feeling all the goodness and the joy, and feeling the pain and the hurt as well. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yana-nai-nai-nai, 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 yana-nai-nai-nai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
Welcome, Heather. So glad that you're back in our life too. So again, if you chime in on the comments, I can read them.
Hi, Amanda and Carrie and John.
So we're in the middle of the part of the Shabbat, the Sabbath experience, where we listen, right? Where we actively listen. We're always hearing, right? I mean, assuming our ears work, we're hearing, but are we listening? And they're not the same thing. And especially now when the world is so noisy, it's about listening to what is good for us, right? Not everything is good for us. It's not just fake news, it's fake listening, right? It's just hearing and taking up our brain and our emotional and our spiritual space when we don't filter out the noise. And it can be factual and it can still be noise, right? Life isn't just about facts, it's about feelings. Ariela talks a lot about that. And so really being mindful of what are we listening to? Who are we listening to? Filtering out those sources that are fake messages, wherever they're coming from. And part of that comes from us, and learning how to listen to our highest self, our authentic self, the voice within us that is the divine. And so we have on this sheet the Shema. Actually, I'll put on here for next week the actual words of the Shema, for those of you who don't know it. It's a one-liner. It's the most famous line in Judaism. It comes from the Bible. And it just is asking the divine to help us listen to exactly what I was just talking about. And so you can just take one breath and put it to one word, and you can listen with us and listen to your inner voice. Traditionally, we cover our eyes, by the way, to shut out the distractions. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu There's a chant that goes with it. I haven't done this one in a while, but it'd be good to get back to it. It's called Shema, Shema, and you'll feel free to join me. Shema, 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 Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. Shema, 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 Shemaya. Shema, Shema, Shemaya. So the great Catholic mystic Thomas Merton says, "Let me seek then the gift of silence and poverty and solitude, where everything I touch is turned into a prayer. Where the sky is my prayer, the birds are my prayer, the wind in the trees is my prayer, for God is in all." And so we're going to just kind of go into some silence. The Amidah, the standing prayer, traditionally is a time to speak to the divine one-on-one without an intermediary. You never need an intermediary. You never need us. We are here in this with you. In Judaism, we don't believe in an intermediary. We believe that there's a great book I once read called "There Is No Messiah, You're It." Right? And so regardless of whether you do believe there's a Messiah, Jesus or whomever, nonetheless, you're empowered to be it. And so you stand in front of the divine and speak words to the divine, or you maybe sit. I choose to sit during this time and to connect to the divine. And going into just a few minutes, a place of silence to connect to the voice, the still voice that's always within you. Tifta להגיד, ופי יגיד תהילתך. ינאי נאי 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 אדוני. ינאי נאי 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 שפתי תפתח. ינאי נאי 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 ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. Take a few minutes to listen, to connect, to speak the words of your heart. In a moment, we'll continue with Oseh Shalom, but this is from the part of the standing prayer that is personalized. And, I draw on great wisdom traditions and spiritual practice wherever they come from. And I turn to Christianity for personal prayer. One of my good friends, Reverend Randy Caldwell, is a Pentecostal preacher, and he's taught me, with a lot of my evangelical friends, on what it means to pray to God. So I'm going to just take a moment and share a prayer with for all of us, with all of you, speaking to God. Please, source of the universe, Ribono Shel Olam, please send us peace. The words we're going to chant in a moment, Oseh Shalom. Send us peace at a time of deep disconnection, disruption, at a time of turmoil and stress. We ask you, we need you, we beg you to give us the energy and the strength, the wisdom to come together at this time, this hour of need, to find the strength, not without us, but within us, each and every one of us, giving our voice, finding our voice, lending our voice, each in our own capacity. Let us turn this time of that discomfort, distress, into a time of unity, a time of connection. Give us the ability to continue each and every day, each and every hour of every day, to find this inner place of strength and wisdom, and allowing us to tap into it whenever we need it. Thank you for placing it within us. And now we chant the psalm and song, Oseh Shalom, asking all of us to come together and fulfill this prayer, and to bring shalom, to bring peace and healing to a world in desperate need of peace and healing.
Oseh Shalom Bimroma, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen. Whatever you're prayers word, we say amen. And we say amen, one word, to get us ready for conversation. I'm going to just make one more technical adjustment so I can see you even better, even closer. I'm going to move you closer still so you can read the comments. And one word will take us into our conversation. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Yalla, amen, amen, amen. Yalla, la, 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 yalla, la. Yalla, la, amen, amen, amen. Yalla, la, 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 yalla, la. Yalla, la, amen, amen, amen. Hey, 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 la, la, amen, amen, amen. Hey, hey, la, 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 amen, amen, amen. Yeah, la, 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 la. Ya la la, amen, amen, amen. Ya la 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 la, ya la la. Ya la la, amen, amen. Again, welcome everybody to Soul Centered. We are delighted that you have joined us. We every week now are committed to offering this on Shabbat, and I think I saw earlier my brother Reverend Randy Caldwell. We might be adapting this as well for Sunday, for the Christian Sabbath. I think that this is what we can do during this time of disconnection on so many levels, is to connect. And our goal is to shatter the walls that divide us. We have always been very passionate about building bridges. Ariela, her family is a bridge, right? Her dad's a Christian, mom was Jewish. My entire world has always been immersed in a Christian Jewish bridge. All my friends growing up, most of them were Christian. And so let's find areas to unite. And talking about the Sabbath, I think, is so beautiful. And why is it either or? Why is it Saturday or Sunday? Let's just have both. Because right now, every day is a Sabbath in some level.
We have nothing else to do.
We have nothing else to do. I mean, like many of you do have a lot to do because you're out there in the world serving and protecting. But most of us are at home. And so what can we do? We can observe at least the Sabbath on Saturday and Sunday. I'm not interested about the rules or the technicalities. I'm interested in the spirit. And so uniting, and welcome to all of our Christian brothers and sisters, and of course, the Jews who are on this as well. So with that, we turn to the Jewish framework, because I do believe it's a really important framework, and that's the Sabbath. And every Shabbat, every Sabbath, we read from the Torah, and we march along in the Torah through the 5 books of Moses. It's like the only thing Jews agree on, actually, I think, is where we are in the Torah portion around the world, is the beginning of the book of Leviticus. And in Hebrew, the word is Vayikrah. You know, Leviticus is like, sometimes the English just is nuts, honestly. Leviticus, tell me what Leviticus means, right? It's not a word we use. Vayikrah means crying out, calling out. Because it begins by saying God calls out to Moses. And I can resonate with crying out or calling out, especially at a time like this. All kinds of calling out. And it's a two-way street. We're going to talk in a couple weeks, the Passover story, I guess less than a couple weeks, where it's about the Israelites crying out or calling out to God and God responding. And this week it's God calling out to Moses. And Vayikrah is interesting because it's written, if you look at it in the original, if you ever have the opportunity to go back to your synagogue or go to a synagogue and unscroll the scroll, in the way it's written in the scroll is the last letter is a small letter. It's not written that way in books. But there's a lot of openings to what does that mean. It's called midrash, storytelling around these types of opportunities. And so the rabbis say, what is that little aleph? It's an aleph. What does that little aleph represent? And one of the ideas is it represents, the aleph is the only letter in the Hebrew alphabet that's silent. And so one of the ideas is it's a quiet crying out, a quiet calling out. There are two types in the Bible and in life. There are two types of calling out when God, the divine, calls out to us. One is shock and awe, what I call shock and awe, pyrotechnics, theatrics, the Mount Sinai moment. Things are erupting and it's just blaringly, this is a divine moment. Those don't happen very often. They're few and far between. I don't know, maybe you could argue that it's happening out in the world in a large way. But in our homes and in our hearts, it's the opposite. It's the silent aleph. It's, the quiet moment when God is entering into our lives. And so really want to have a conversation about the quiet callings from above or within. Moses was known to be a great prophet not because he was a man of blaring words, that was his brother Aaron, but because he was a man of soft and subtle words, and he could listen to the soft and subtle communications of the divine. When he's out wandering in the fields and he sees the bush that's on fire and that isn't being consumed, the question is asked, how many people walked past that same bush and just didn't pay attention, didn't notice? And so what makes Moses Moses is that he is able to pay attention to the quiet aleph, the quiet callings in his life.
I think also, he had a speech impediment. And so he was always so worried about being a leader and leading the people with his big voice. So he was like most of us, all of us have, things that we grapple with. And to find that still small voice within is to hone in on Moses honed in on what he was good at. He was really good at listening. Partly, I think, because his words it was difficult to get the words out, but he could really tune in and listen. And so you think about the going within and finding the silence within is about tuning in to the ways in which our senses react to the world. Like, are you a really good listener? Or are you a really good speaker? Or what is your gift? And the way to find that is to go inside. Rabbi Nachman talks about this idea of the still small voice. And he said that he can be in a room or he talked about being in the center of the world with so much noise around. And when he called out, no one could hear because there was so much noise, but he could hear the still small voice within because he found a sanctuary within his home, inside of himself.
It reminds me, the other take on the small aleph and God called out is that it represents humility. Moses was known to be the most humble person, which is kind of funny because supposedly he wrote the Torah and it says Moses was the most humble man. So I think if you write that, maybe it takes you out of the realm of humble. But nonetheless, he was known for his humility. And that's what you're saying. I'm thinking about, I gave a sermon years ago on playing second fiddle, coming from this idea in the orchestra of, you want to be first violin. Nobody wants to be second fiddle, but that's not true. And I remember it was referencing somebody who did play second violin in the orchestra. And they said, absolutely, I want to be second fiddle because first violin can't be first violin without second violin. Mm-hmm. And right now at a time where it's just about being humble and, there's people out in the world that are literally saving the world. That's not me right now. That's maybe not you, maybe it is. But knowing you're playing your role, you're playing your part. There's this great teaching. I love it. I'm not going to get it totally right, but politician. I forgot he became a basketball player for the New York Knicks, senator. Somebody will type it in the column. But anyways, he was at a restaurant and it was a very, very fancy restaurant and he wanted another pat of butter. And he said to the waiter, come over here, I want another pat of butter. And he said, the waiter said, no, I'm not going to give you another pat of butter. It's with one per customer, something like that. He says, do you know who I am? I am Senator so-and-so. Like, I am one of the most important guys in New York.
Mm-hmm.
He says, do you know who I am? The senator says, no, I don't know who you are. He says, I'm the guy with the butter. And so I always thought about that, and especially now, Ariela's been pointing out a job that we didn't necessarily revere before, maybe like a grocery store clerk, is now the guy with the butter, the gal with the butter. A very powerful, important position.
There's just, on this line, there's a Facebook thing going out today with superheroes, and they are looking at the grocery clerks, and they're saying, you're one of us now. And it's just is so, I was talking to a grocery clerk last week, and I said, you are a hero because you are frontline. Like, people come in this store and you don't know what's going to happen. So not only are the doctors obviously heroes, but also people who work, who are shelving, they're putting food on our shelves. They're standing behind the cash register. Those are our heroes. But shifting into this idea of silence, there's a psalm that says, be still and know that I am. And I really believe that in the silence we cultivate, like, how can we be there for others? How can we be there for ourselves? How can we, as Moses struggled with being a leader, is you have to, as Moses did, listen and be still. And in the still, small, quiet, in the stillness is that small voice, which is the divine speaking to us. So this idea, when we feel lonely and when we feel lost, is to really, I think, take our traditions and other traditions and prayers and use them. This is the time when so many people feel lost, and we have to cultivate that silence within to find our center and find the divine.
Totally. Maybe we'll end with this. Senator Bill Bradley. That's who it was, Senator Bill. From the book of Melachim, of Kings, when Elijah, the great prophet, who was known as a fireball, right, wanted to connect with God. What did God say? It's just a great passage, which is where this term comes from. And God said, go out and stand upon the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But God was not in the wind. And after the wind and the earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came fire, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire came a kol damamataka, which is a still small voice. And it's just a reminder, right, that you can run around looking for signs out in the universe. You can say to God, please, open up the heavens and show me what to do. Show me how to move forward, how to hold on. I know a lot of people right now I'm talking to, counseling, just trying to hold on. It's been a week or two of holding on. Instead of maybe looking outward, look inward. And maybe the message comes from the kol damamataka, the still small voice, to help all of us continue to hold on, to play our part, and to move forward with faith. And so maybe we'll end asking God just to give us a pure heart. It's on your song sheet, and then we'll go into a healing for those who are barely holding on and need our prayer and our loves. But for now, pure heart on your sheets can be downloaded mysoulcenter.org under downloads and tools.
Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Yadai, 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 yadai.
So as we continue, we're going to, again, send our love and our prayers out to those who are in need. Ariela will guide us in a guided visualization of healing for ourselves and for others, and then we will share names. You will type in your names in the side, and I'm happy to read them. We believe that saying a name has great power. The Hebrew word for word and thing are one and the same. So when we speak, we create something, and so we'll send our love and our prayers and our energy out to those in need of healing.
So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just find a comfortable seat. You can lie down, wherever you're comfortable. And just really feel your body start to come into Shabbat, this holy day of rest. And as you breathe in and breathe out, I invite you to journey with me. And to begin our journey, we'll take a journey back in time, during the time of Passover, remembering our ancestors. Just breathing and really see if you can feel their slavery, our slavery, the lack of freedom. And they were in a state of Mitzrayim, tightness, narrowness, constraint, tight breath, and just also the unknown of not knowing where they were going and how long this slavery would last, just fearing the worst, being scared for their families. We can also journey now, as you take a deep breath in, to our ancestors. Imagine seeing Joseph, a prisoner in a hole for years, who became a great leader because of his deep introspection and silence within imprisonment. He spiritually ascended as he physically descended into this prison. And we think of Abraham, our forefather, who finally came to Israel and found the land barren and had to descend down into Egypt. He and his wife Sarah had to survive, had to cultivate this spiritual and intense depth inside of them, a spiritual ascent in the depths of the unknown. And as we take another deep breath in, we travel now into modern time, thinking of Nelson Mandela or Natan Sharansky, who were both imprisoned for years. And although they were imprisoned, they were never prisoners. As they physically descended into their physical prison, they spiritually ascended and became free in their bodies, their souls. Natan Sharansky says that his imprisonment was freedom. He was free and pure in the silence, in the depths of his heart, and discovered true freedom within, inside of himself. And as we come upon our own Passover holiday, a holiday of remembering our people in slavery, we can now journey into our homes, into our bodies, into our world, into the experience of a modern day Mitzrayim, a physical descent when we're constrained on the outside. Some of our freedom has been removed. We can feel the tightness, the stress, the illness, terror, fear, anxiety, not knowing when it will all end. And as we physically descend, we can start to spiritually ascend up, to explore who we are from the inside out, to lech lecha, to go into ourselves. And so just begin to feel the world around us. Notice the journey that has come from so long ago all the way into the center of your soul, the center of your body. Taking a deep breath into your narrowness, into your personal fears, your internal noise. the emotions that you may be feeling. And begin to allow them to be washed away. And see if you can go deeper into your Lech Lecha journey, traveling into the essence of who you are. Imagine traveling into a tunnel of light right inside of your own body. Traveling deeper now into your soul, the essence of who you are, and allow your light to get bigger and brighter. And begin to see that your soul has beautiful qualities: acceptance, love, openness, transformation, flow, calm, and peace. Discover that all that freedom is right here inside of who you are. And allow the light to start expanding you, opening the tight places within you. Spaciousness, boundlessness. Breathing in and listen to the silence and become a light seeker, a Lech Lecha warrior, and a big beacon of love. And finally, taking a deep breath, maybe taking your hand to your heart center, feeling that beacon of love and shining it out to all of those in need of healing now, to all of those that need our prayer, our love, our attention. And see if you can take your prayers out into the frontline workers, doctors, hospitals, grocery clerks. See if you can just take your prayers to those that are ill, to those that are ill from the coronavirus, and to those that are ill just in general who are struggling. Bringing yourself to an open heart. And then we invite you to place the names of your loved ones or those that you know that are ill in the chat box. Just beginning to center your heart out from yourself and your place of freedom into the world. So if you have anyone that you'd like to share with us in the chat, please begin to share as we sing the song of healing. It's not in your words, it's called Healer of the Brokenhearted by Shir Yaakov. And so just breathing in and closing your eyes and allowing yourself to listen and to be and to feel. Taking a deep breath in. Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know where they are. Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know who we are. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ana elna refana la. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ana elna refana.
So Ariela will keep chanting, and I will share a few names. You're welcome to put your name on here. You also obviously can say the name of your loved one who's struggling. Sending our love and our prayers to Jared, Susan. Our thoughts and prayers are with Jared. Sending energy towards you and towards him. It's also about sending energy towards those who heal. And each one of you is a healer in your own capacity. Gail, we're sending love and prayers to Meg, and also to Don, Karen, and Jeff, who you shared are all in the ICU, fighting for their lives, to their families, Ed, Aaron, and John. Heather, sending you the strength to continue to pray for, send your energy to Nancy Coates. Sending my love and prayers to my friends, some of whom I know are struggling deeply. Sending them to some of my clients who I'm working with who are struggling, trying to hold on during a time it's just overwhelming. Send our love and our prayers out to those on the front lines. As we talked about, the healthcare providers, grocery store clerks, stockers, manufacturers, delivery people, construction workers putting together makeshift hospitals like at the Javits Center, city officials who are out there working day and night to make sure our society continues on. So many good people doing so much good work. Continue to send each and every one of them energy to heal those who need to be healed. Going to be concluding in a second with a memorial prayer for those who have lost loved ones. This is a prayer to pay tribute to them. I know many people are not able to get to synagogues and say this prayer. It's called Kaddish, and it's a beautiful version of Kaddish. Kaddish is the memorial prayer. Kaddish is interesting because it doesn't mention death. It doesn't mention sorrow. It mentions light, love, life, legacy. I actually wrote a little tool for this, get it online. It's called Creative Kaddish, and it helps people write their own prayer for love, light, life, and legacy. But this is a beautiful tune that was composed with my partner at the time, Cantor Alana, in Swampscott. I kind of commissioned her, challenged her to come up with a tune and a version of Kaddish that's accessible by all and really takes us to the heart of what this prayer is about. And then Ariela created the English words for this. And so we blended these together to just create a moment in time and place and space for us to pay tribute to those who came before us. If you're formally mourning a loved one, this is an opportunity for to say a version of Kaddish. It's not the traditional one. And for those of you who just want to tap into the power and strength of a loved one who was physically and is no more, but is spiritually and will always be. I think of my grandpa Jack and my grandma Flo, two pillars of strength in my life, each in a different way. And so I think about them during Kaddish, and my brother, Mark Gurman, who I'm going to be saying prayers for. And I invite you to share them as well, to take this moment and to think about those who give you strength in a time when you need strength. And so with that, we'll chant the Kaddish prayer.
I'd just like to say one more thing, that I've been really calling on the strength of those that I've recently lost, and asking not only every morning for the divine to protect my house and my household and my family and my loved ones, but also inviting the presence of the souls of my mom, my stepfather, my grandmother, and my grandfather who died 28 years ago. And when I'm in my meditation and in my prayers every morning, I see them surrounding my home. And I ask them for extra love and to, if we ask, it is possible to feel their signs, their messages of love every day. And so I invite you to just ask the divine, ask your loved ones who have deceased, ask angels, ask your guides to protect your home and to really see them bring down extra protection right now. And I feel like they're all really with us right now. So with that, we'll start the Kaddish. Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'me'almaya Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'me'almaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Really holding on to the love that was there and is there and will always be there. Love is all there is.
Yai nai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai.
So welcome Shana, Mark, Jennifer, Aviva, Sarah, Eileen. You all just joined us. I know right now we have like a minion, 10 plus on, but when I put this on YouTube, we have a few hundreds, so these things are evergreen. I'm not going to add more prayers and things to this, but we're going to just take a little bit of time now to just share a little bit about what we're doing in response to the coronavirus and the pandemic. And then afterwards, Ariela will stop, I think, and we'll give people time to get their yoga mats and get set up. And then we'll come back on to Facebook, the Soul Centered group or the Soul Centered Facebook page, and you can do yoga to move your way through this, not just to sing or chant or meditate your way through this. So you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing?
So, well, we're the creators of the soul-centered Center for Meaning, Loss, and Healing. I am the founder and the creator of the Divine Body Wisdom Program. So, I am all things healing, and I help people connect to their body and soul wisdom so they can heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And what that means is that I work with people to center themselves and to discover what emotions and what things we have stored in our bodies so that we can truly be free of them. So, especially during this time, it's not only the fear and anxiety of what's coming up right in this moment, but you may be finding that all of your stuff is being triggered. And so what I do through 3 different ways is that I go in and I help guide you to discover where you're holding emotions, wounds, traumas, you name it, inside of your body. And I do that through a journey in your body. So guided visualizations. The power of closing your eyes is like nothing I've ever experienced, both personally and professionally. So when we close our eyes and go inside of you, you discover where your body is holding these emotions, and it elicits emotional response to truly be free of the things that we have always held on to. I also provide intuitive guidance and energy healing. So within this, I do Reiki and also chakra balancing, and I'm able to see the nervous system intuitively and guide you to places inside of your body that need more clearing, more light, more love, and more energy. And this in turn helps you to go back into the world wherever you are right now and really to find a shift and transformation inside of your relationships. So it's not only personally do you see a transformation, but you see a shift in your relationships and the work that you're doing outside in the world. So I invite you for a complimentary 30-minute body wisdom discovery session. I usually provide 30-minute discovery sessions, and in this time of need, I'm providing sessions, 30-minute complimentary sessions to really go inside and give you some intuitive guidance and emotional clearing.
That's why we started Soul Centered. It's not a synagogue; it's a center for soul. We try to be as clear as possible, right? What do? We help people find their soul center because there's 2 paths in life. There's a self-centered and a soul-centered. I'm teaching a lot about this. It comes from a kind of a Kabbalistic tradition, but when we hit midlife and onwards, the rules start to change. And if we honor those rules and changing, we can have an amazing ride for what I call the sunset phase. And then that can be a long phase of our life. But if you make the shift from self to soul, and everything changes. And I draw my wisdom from Kabbalah specifically, and also from logotherapy, Dr. Viktor Frankl, who bore out this pathway of psychotherapy that's practical. It's all about meaning and finding meaning in our lives and shifting from self-centered to soul-centered. That's his language, moving from ourself to other. And so I work with clients through both soul coaching, which is a combination of what I just described, helping people live a soul-centered life, and then also still grief counseling, loss counseling, really, because there's all types of grief. Death is one of them, but we're experiencing all types of loss right now in our world. And so we each offer guidance, and then we also have the experiences. So Soul Centered has guidance and experiences under loss, meaning, and healing, and that's what we're doing. Experiences like this one, which is really soul focused for the Sabbath, built around the Jewish framework. Thursday nights we've shifted; it's just soul focused around a general spiritual framework. We have the healing experience, which is with Ariela, and it's mind, body, spirit, yoga, meditation heavy. And then I do the meaning experience, where we're diving into these ideas and processing them, helping people find meaning in their life. And I will be launching the grief experience because I've talked to folks who have literally just buried loved ones alone. They couldn't have anybody there. And they go home and they don't have Shiva, the morning practice, and they're doing it alone. I talked to a Catholic friend of mine who had to forego a wake. So that's painful. Loss is painful enough. To go it alone is devastating. And so we're going to create the grief experience as an online opportunity to be a part of a community and draw upon the ancient wisdom traditions of Shiva, of of the Jewish grief practices, but universalized, spiritualized, personalized. And so that's what we're offering, that's what we're doing. And we're very honored and privileged to be offering it to you, our friends and our community. And so all that we ask, we are not taking compensation. All that we ask is that you share this gift with other people. That's what we want to do, each of us in our own capacity, bringing healing to a broken world. And so if you'd be so kind as to share this with those whom you know are in need, we would be grateful, and I hope they will be grateful. And so with that, we'll end with a song of prayer and peace, Od Yavo Shalom. It's on your handouts. It's beautiful because it was written by Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews as a symbol of what's possible when we sing, when we come together at times of adversity and create salam and shalom and namaste and peace.
Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu, Ojivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Salam, peace, namaste, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Join me. We'll end the video for just a moment, and then if you have a mat and you want to roll it out, we will start Shabbat yoga in just a few minutes.
And Sam, nice to be with you too, and all of you. Take care.